That's actually, there's one thing I left off of this list we should probably go into. Before, on that note of competition, what do you think about this? I don't know if you've heard about it. The universal video caller.
I'm looking at it right now. You're calling the iPhone and Android.
Yeah. Technically, you could call an iPad, but since an iPad doesn't have a camera, it'd be a one-way video call.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of, not necessarily the newest phones, but a lot of the new generation phones still don't have front-facing cameras.
However, this doesn't care. It will let you use the back-facing camera and either turn the phone around or say, well, look at this. Hey, did you see the kid just jump off of that and do that? I'm like, it doesn't care. It'll make the best of what your hardware is.
I'm going to watch you. You watch my wall.
Yeah.
However, the next generation, the ones that are currently the top-end ones and then the ones coming, will probably all have front-facing. And eventually the front-facing are all going to become HD, and then...
Yeah, no, it's coming more and more and more. I'm sure, I'm absolutely positive, even though I hate Apple, that the iPad 2 will have some kind of camera, probably in a front-facing...
And apparently this Tango is already available for iTunes, or on iTunes using iPhone and iPod.
Yeah. No, it's cross-platform. It isn't. They haven't said yet whether it's going to be on Windows, but Windows isn't officially out yet. So it wouldn't surprise me if it wound up on there too, which would mean, this comes down to the thing. Do you want to be in the FaceTime network, which can only call other iPhones, or do you want to be in the Tango network, which can call everyone? This also... Of
course, there's going to be a third one that emerges where you can call any other phone, or you can call desktops and laptops.
Well, no, see, that's the thing. Skype is in the perfect position to do that if they would stop this bull crap where they're giving Verizon exclusivity. Because Skype is already on desktop, Skype's already on Android, Skype's already on iOS. Right. If Skype needs to get its act together, or it's going to lose out to third-party competition like this. I really could give a crap if they do that because they're trying to play this exclusivity game. It's you either play with everyone or you get hurt. Somebody else will do it if you won't. Now,
Skype, like you said, it's already got that infrastructure in place. It's really just a shame that they're...
Yeah, if Skype woke up tomorrow and flicked a switch, I don't know if they're in some kind of a contract with Verizon that says they can't, but if they did it, they would be that solution because they're there. They're everywhere already.
Yeah.
But they don't want to be. It's like, I don't know. Now for the bad things about Tango, and this is kind of why I wish Skype would flip that switch. We installed this on some Android devices here, and it wants access to everything under the sun. We've been talking about look at what your Android app is trying to access when you install it. Oh, this thing wants access to everything. Some of it I can understand. I'm not sure why it needs access to SMS. I'm not sure. I can understand why it needs access to the address book so you can add Tango contacts and yada yada and so forth. But I don't. It's one of those. I honestly think whoever wrote this app just left everything turned on and didn't turn it off. And developers need to stop doing that in Android because it's going to raise red flags and it's going to confuse grandma. It's like, pick the services you need and no more. Don't just check everything. It's bad etiquette.
Well, if it's tapping into everything else, it's probably also using a little bit more battery life. Maybe not a lot, but depends on how often it's doing those things.
The battery life isn't so much a concern as the privacy concern. That why I don't think Tango has any interest in doing this right now. who's to say in someday in the future some company won't buy them who has every interest in abusing those accesses? Because that's one of the big things going on right now with apps. People are building great apps up, and then they have ethics, but they sell it to somebody who doesn't. And that it's like, why the service doesn't go away, all of a sudden all these back doors that they just kind of left on by mistake start getting abused, which is not a good thing by any mess of the imagination. Okay, looks like I guess we'll do Q&As before we get into the, oh dear Lord, everybody's doing everything. That's like, Q2's probably more interesting than Q1, to be quite honest. This is just a good overall general Linux question.
Right.
It's like, and they were asking that, they had a NVIDIA card. Now, I don't remember this for a fact because I actually got rid of my 8800, but I could swear the 8800 was one of those few NVIDIA cards that has like proprietary stuff on top of it, so you do need to add a proprietary driver to it, I think. But I found most distros have it. I forget if it's the 8800 or the 9000 series. It's one of them. It's like one of the really high, what was a high-end NVIDIA card like 2 years ago. It's like, because 512 is not a high-end card anymore, but...
Right. Well, I've actually got, the one that I run is it's a GT240 based on, I think, either 9400 or 9600, and I do use the proprietary drivers, and it runs very nicely, but as far as I know, the open source, the Nouveau and the NV or whatever else drivers should work decently with it as well.
Yeah.
As far as 8800, that one I have no experience with. My laptop has an 8400, and it works about the same either way, a little bit better with proprietary.
Well, unless there's another 8800, which wouldn't surprise me because NVIDIA gets a little weird, but the 8800 I looked up on the site was a PCI 2, so it's a desktop card. It's a little 512 desktop card. Yeah, you should stay away from shared cards, but 512 cards on the desktop, they're all dedicated. It's like if you're putting a PCI or PCIe card in, that's a dedicated graphics card. It might have some shared, but it's largely a dedicated one. And really, as far as for graphics, anything over 512 is fine. The second question is a loaded question, which is why I put it in here, which was how much hard drive space do you need?
Actually, but before we get to that, there is another small item on NVIDIA that has kind of confused me, maybe concerned me recently.
Right.
Someone came in my IRC channel asking about a laptop they've got that's got a dual video card. It's got an integrated Intel card, and this is a laptop or a netbook, one or the other. Intel graphics and an NVIDIA, I think it's an Ion, that is supposed to activate when it's needed.
Yeah, okay.
NVIDIA drivers don't work.
Yeah, no, I have had really bad experiences with the Ion cards in Linux. Most NVIDIA cards are great. The Ion ones, not so much. They're a really low budget one, like you say. Basically what they did there was you have the Intel integrated graphics, which is, on-chip graphics, which is good for very central graphics. They're actually well supported in Linux. But then instead of adding a dedicated graphics card for when I need more power, they added yet another shared graphics card, which just doesn't work right. It's a bad idea. Even Apple has enough common sense to realize we shouldn't do this. Now,
well, for the sake of mobility and power savings, it does make some sense, but
honestly, in some cases, it winds up to a performance decrease because you're using system resources to do this shuffle around and other stuff. You'd honestly be better off just sticking with the integrated graphics alone than doing this little weird shuffle like some cheaper systems are wanting to do. If you're going to do a graphics upgrade, do a graphics upgrade. Don't just add more shared to cumber the thing up and make it make mountains out of molehills. It's like if you want to add a graphics card, add a graphics card. Don't do this stuff. I know what you're saying, and I get the point, but it's just it's one of those things.
I guess I thought, well, the guy and I did too, thought it was just a little odd that it, I guess it was the NVIDIA driver couldn't figure out how to do it in Linux, and you had to either disable one or the other, and there wasn't a way in the BIOS to
no. What it was is that was specifically written for Windows and Windows only.
Right. There we go. It's another one of those.
Yeah.
People think Linux sucks because the hardware manufacturer has made it that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that was the technology that was not Linux was not considered at all when that was implemented, and I have even in Windows, and I've screwed around with that in Windows. Even in Windows, it's not the best. What you'll notice is when that kicks in, you'll lose a lot of CPU run cycles. So it doesn't run quite right. Now, depending on what type of work you're doing, that can be a fair trade-off, but not always. However, I think people are going to be seeing less and less of that, and the reason I say that is because one thing I've noticed with a lot of the OEMs lately is they're going way of that AMD Vision technology, which is basically AMD's version of Centrino. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that already. But basically, since AMD owns ATI, they've got this little bundle going where it's Vision. If you have
AMD graphics on an AMD chip.
Yeah, it's like if you have this ATI graphics card with this AMD chip with this size, it's like we'll call it Vision. That's what I'm saying. And as a result, what I'm finding more and more with the OEM's PC side, good or bad, right or wrong, is that even on their Intel systems, they're using the same ATI HD cards. Now, the good news is, so far, the cards they've been using are the few cards that are well supported in Linux. But that could change, which would be really annoying. It's part of the reason at some point here I do want to do an OEM roundup review, because you need to advise on what's actually going on right now, both in terms of whatever platform you're doing. And that is a little scary, because it's getting harder and harder to buy laptops with NVIDIA cards on them, that are good NVIDIA cards. It's like they're either Intel dedicated graphics, which have gotten up to 512, or they're ATI HD. And I'm finding fewer and fewer selling good NVIDIA cards laptop side. There's still plenty of options desktop side, but laptop side, because of this push by AMD, they're like, why should we stock two sets of graphics cards? And there's higher margin on AMD systems, so of course they're doing that. I'm not signing them for doing that. I have mixed feelings.
So should we move on to the minimal hard drive thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, I got us off on an awkward topic.
No, it's okay.